Right after UFC fighter Gillian Robertson lost her title shot, her longtime coach Dean Thomas went on the post-fight show and said that he was done cornering fighters, that he, quote, has taken her as far as she could go. Combat sports has a coaching problem. Combat sports has many people who can teach you whatever you need to know. What combat sports doesn't always have is someone who can identify when the fight is changing, adjust, and call the next play. When nobody can do that, the coach, not the fighter, is the bottleneck. Now, I'm not here to talk trash about Dean Thomas. I don't know their relationship. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I don't know any of that. I do not believe that losing a fight means the coach has failed. The opponent has a say in the fight. The fighter has responsibility that he must take care of. Sometimes the corner gives the right advice and the fighter chooses not to obey it. A corner cannot magically solve every problem in 60 seconds. But that raises the question, what does the corner do when the fight stops looking like what they prepared for? Before we call a fighter or a coach the bottleneck, we have to identify 3 different problems. First, was the original game plan appropriate? Did the coaching staff do everything that they needed to do to identify the problems that they may come across? Secondly, could the fighter execute the game plan? Were they just not able to? Was the other fighter stronger or faster or smarter than they were? That's not an automatic cornering failure. Thirdly, when everything failed that you prepared for, was the corner able to adjust on the fly and call the right plays to get the job done? Those are 3 distinct failures: a planning failure, an execution failure, and an adjustment failure. If we don't separate them, then we can't get to the root cause of whether it was the fighter's fault or the coach's fault, and that helps no one. This is where I think we confuse different coaching jobs. I think there are 2 distinct types of coaches. I think you have your technical coach, and then you have a field general. The technical coach is in charge of getting your technique right, making sure that you don't fail on your double legs or single legs or your jab, making sure that you're proficient in the techniques that you need to do. The field general calls the play. They watch the fight unfold, calls out adjustments, make sure that they understand what the priority problem is, identify a solution to it, and then convey that to the fighter. These are not necessarily 2 different people. One person can do both of these jobs, but being excellent at teaching technique does not automatically make you a field general. That is the coach's dilemma. Knowing the technical answer is one thing, but being able to identify a problem while under pressure and then convey what you need your fighter to do is a totally different thing. The corner may know 5 different things that are technically correct, but a fighter doesn't need 5 different answers. The fighter needs 1 they can actually execute on that's going to get them out of a bad predicament. They need to know what problem needs to be solved first. They don't need a seminar in between rounds. They need 1 clear priority and 1 usable action. This is where coaches start to turn into cheerleaders. When they start talking about bite down on your mouthpiece, do it for your family, your mother's watching, all the above. The thing about those is they're pep talks. They're not technical adjustments. There may be moments where a fighter needs a pep talk, some motivation, but it is not a substitute for technical adjustment. Motivation can't replace instruction. It never has and it never will. This is how I think we should approach the Dean Thomas situation. The useful question is not if Dean Thomas was right or wrong about what he did. The useful question is, what did the team prepare for? How did Dean Thomas and Gillian Robertson actually engage in fight camp? Do they have a language? Do they have vocabulary for the things that they expected? What were the contingency plans if things went wrong? You have to start preparing 3, 4, 5 steps in advance. We saw that Robertson was actually able to fight with Mackenzie Dern and hold her down in bad positions, but getting there was the problem. So I saw Dean Thomas give out piss poor advice and not actually give her something that she could technically use. And that's what makes me lean into the coach being the bottleneck. Like I said, I have no problem with Dean Thomas. I just didn't understand what he was trying to convey to his fighter during the fight. And she didn't either, which is why for majority of the fight, she looked exactly the same. The game plan never changed. No adjustments were ever made. Now, I'm not saying this as a casual. I'm not saying this as somebody who's never been in Dean Thomas' situation. I've cornered plenty of fighters. In fact, I've cornered fighters 2 losses. And I take responsibility. I was in situations to where my fighter was losing because I couldn't make the adjustment. My fighter was well prepared. He did everything he was supposed to do. Showed up to training camp every day, put in great effort. We had great technical rounds, and we explained things. When the fighter rose, I could not make the adjustments. That's my fault. In fact, I apologize to him. I apologize to all the fighters when they are doing what I asked them to do and the fight does not work out. That means it is on me, not on them. And in that situation, my vocabulary wasn't correct. We have a language that we speak to each other, and we didn't agree on what language should be. We weren't as diligent and exacting what I expected for him to do. So in that case, he failed. So how do we prevent this? Before fight night, your coaching staff needs to come up with whoever's going to be studying the opponent, whoever's going to be giving out technical instruction, and who is watching time and position. Who has the final voice in between rounds? If 3 coaches are competing to give instructions, then no one's actually calling the fight. Second, you have to develop a shared language with the fighter and all the coaches. You have to make sure that you have a vocabulary for your fighters. If you can name it, you can train it. If you can train it, then you can prepare for it and set up different scenarios to where things go wrong and right in the situations. I was taught that language creates division. If I tell one of my fighters to get back to green zone, control the air, and then move to your right, I shouldn't have to break that down in the round break. It should be innate. We've gone over it, we've planned for it, we've planned contingencies for it. We've named it, we've trained it, we've drilled it repeatedly, ad nauseum. Third, you need to build branches into the game plan. We can not only prepare for plan A, there needs to be a plan B, plan C. The game plan may need to shift. So what do we have to do to shift it? We might need to take out parts of plan A and insert plan C. Or we might need to take something that we trained 2 camps ago and bring it in. So we don't look at it as in we're training for specifically one fighter. We look at it as this is what we train holistically. We have systems in place for any fighter, anything that we're going to face in the fight. That's it. You don't specify your game plan to one person. Fourth, we should also practice communication in camp. The coaches need reps as well. So the coaches need to be there during sparring, calling it out, identifying weaknesses in the opponent, and identifying weaknesses in your athlete. If you're not watching sparring film of your athlete, as in you're trying to figure out how you would beat him, how do you know what your weakness is? How do you even start to really game plan against someone else? The communication process should be simple. See the problem, identify the priority, call one clear action and get it done. I even had one of my fighters tell me in a fight, and I'm totally okay with this. I had one of my fighters tell me in a fight that he didn't see what I was calling out. Thank you. I said thank you to him and we adjusted. I adjusted because he said he didn't see what I was saying. Cool. I called another adjustment. And then during the round break, I went back and specified what I meant. And the next round, he went out there and executed on the adjustment that I made, that we called out. So if you can't get your fighter to talk back to you during a fight, if he can't understand it and can't convey to you that he's not understanding your calls, your adjustments that you need to make, then we have to work on that. We have to apply pressure in training. We have to apply an overload of sorts to make sure that we can identify and make sure that we are communicating on the same level. So the last thing I'm going to talk about here is it's not the coach's job to guarantee a victory. The coach's job is to make sure that you drill and prepare your fighter to have the ability to see, think, and decide what the right thing to do is in that fight. Technical knowledge makes you valuable in the training room. But when the fight is changing and the other corner is making adjustments and the fighters are making adjustments, you have to be able to adequately communicate what you're trying to get your fighter to do and what you see. Communication is always the key. But anyway, that's it for me. So let me know down in the comments whether you agree or not. Also, in the link in the description, I have a link to my school community. It is the Ludus Gladiator School, and I would appreciate it if you come over there. If you like what you saw in this video, a lot more of that is going on in that community. So please drop by, join up, and see what we're talking about. All right, y'all. Stay dangerous. Peace.